Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell, Glenn Martin, and we're excited to finally kick off this offseason, the 2025 offseason, going into a long and exciting offseason, a lot to talk about. And what we're going to do is provide you guys with the different types of content. We're going to start a series today. This is our first video on positional group gradings and outlooks into the coming season, where we are today, what we thought about the group's performance, the money allocated to that group, and how or if we think this group needs to be improved upon. So we're going to start today talking about the running back group, which is really exciting. But before we do, I want to say two things. One, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a lot. And of course, we'll help the content get out there. But two, we have an awesome sponsor in BetOnline. So we got to shout them out. And that's exactly what Glenn's going to do.
Yeah, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA, college basketball to the NHL and UFC. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here, and I know old Dr. Uncle Bob won a couple of shekels on the Wizards last night. Shout out to Jordan Poole for coming through for him. And I know he also hit pretty good on the defensive touchdown of the Eagles. So shout out to Cooper DeJean for putting a couple dollars in Dr. Uncle Bob's pockets. And BetOnline, of course, for providing us with that opportunity. But yeah, we're excited about getting into this positional group. We're going to go group by group. Tell you what, are the Ravens getting their money's worth from that position? Is it a position that needs to be bolstered? Can it stand pat? Are they getting what they need to win a championship, or does it need a complete and total rehaul and revamping? And this video, we're going to focus on the running back position. And I think it's one of the more intriguing offseason decisions the Ravens have to make. Exactly, we've heard talks, the Ravens, Derrick Henry, they are talking extensions are being discussed. Both sides seem to be happy with what happened in year one. Derrick Henry went as far as to mention he wants to retire a Raven. I think the Ravens would be very happy with that. But yeah, let's get into who's on the books right now for how much, and are they getting their money's worth?
Yeah, so we'll talk about the books, and then of course we'll talk about that return on investment like Glenn said. So let's break it down real quick. There's 4 running backs officially on the books today, and they are one, Derrick Henry, like Glenn said, the All-Pro, at $12.8 million in the upcoming season. Justice Hill at a humble, very valuable $2.4 million. Keaton Mitchell at $1 million. And Rasheen Ali also at $1 million. So those are our 4 running backs. And of course, we had some pretty awesome production out of Derrick Henry, but also out of Justice Hill. I know Glenn's got some stats on all of our running backs last year, but in particular, those were really the 2 guys that made up that backfield for the most part. And so, yeah, let's talk about what we did, how they looked last year. Of course, Derrick Henry, 16 touchdowns?
Yeah, I mean, 16 touchdowns on the ground, added, let's see, a couple through the air. So, yeah, he certainly, man, I mean, those who doubted whether or not Derrick Henry would fit in Baltimore, I think, all those doubts are certainly out the window. But, yeah, on the ground, 325 carries, workhorse type mentality. I mean, just look at years past where Lamar Jackson was very close. Most years he was the leading carrier, leading rusher on this team. Not anymore. Not that the king is here. 325 carries, 1,921 yards, average just shy of 6 yards per carry at 5.9. Like Jimmy mentioned, 16 touchdowns on the ground. And then through the air, another 19 catches, another 193 yards, and two more touchdowns. So 18 total touchdowns, and just ultra productive, whether you're throwing the ball and, of course, on the ground. The guy was an absolute beast, got better as the game went on. So I think even with that money, I would say they're getting their money's worth. However, Jimbo, with the rumblings of the extension, I do want to quickly mention that the expectation is that the Ravens could reduce that $12.89 million cap hit by as much as $5 million by just giving him maybe a 2-year extension, reducing this year's cap hit, and keeping him around for an additional 2 years that he may not see both those years on the field. Who knows? But it'll at least give the Ravens some cap relief for 25.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Glenn, and certainly something to consider because, like you said, of that immediate cap relief. And the other thing to consider when thinking about this group, I think as far as a grade for 2024, Glenn, we can't do anything but an A.
Right. Yeah.
Right, because Derrick Henry brings that entire group up along, and the value of Justice Hill. Right, he's versatile. He's a great blocker. He's a great teammate. He seems to know everything that's going on in the field in every single moment. He's great, passing the ball. He was certainly a weapon, and as far as being an outlet for Lamar Jackson. But from 2024, it's got to be an A. I think even financially, it has to be an A, right? But outside of that, you talk about the financial piece of it, and this is the one question I have, Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
Are you concerned? I hate that I'm saying this, but it has to be a part of the equation. Are you concerned about Derrick Henry's age? He's 31. He's all pro, 325 carries, just shy under 2,000 yards. Are you concerned about the combination of his age, volume, and, of carries and playing style that if we, that at some point the wheels are just going to fall off, right?
Yeah, no, and I think people have been worried about that since before Derrick Henry got in the league with his play style and particularly his running style. He runs super vertical. He's so straight up and down when he runs, and he's so tall that he just looks like he'd be a perfect target to get absolutely smacked around by every defender. But somehow it just doesn't seem to bother Derrick Henry. He's the wrecking ball that does most of the damage, and guys tend to just bounce off of him, even though he runs a very vertical running style, and he's such a big target. But at some point, Jimbo, I think we all agree that cliff comes pretty quick for running backs, especially because of the pounding they take and because of the workload it is on their lower body. It's not like you can play till you're Tom Brady's age at 44 and still throw for fourth. Not at running back. But damn it, if there's one guy that might be able to do it, it's the guy who works harder than seemingly everyone in the league. I heard Saquon Barkley's, I think it's his wife, talk about the sacrifices, and there's no doubt that Saquon, works his ass off. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone in the league that works harder than Derrick Henry to keep himself going and keep being the reliable workhorse that he's been his whole career. So I think they're getting their money's worth. And man, I hope to heck that they get an extension done to lower that cap hit so we can build a team around them.
Yeah. So as a follow up to that, Glenn, we talked about the age. I mean, I agree with you. I think that if one guy can do it, it's Derrick Henry. But at what point, is this the offseason where we do one of three things? We kind of stand pat, let the guys, continue to play, pay the money, feel good about it? Or do we make some moves? Do we depend on Rasheen Ali to develop as a player, to Keaton Mitchell to come back from that injury and be the Keaton we were? Or do we go the other way and say, hey, we need to bring in some other talent from outside? Where do you see us addressing this? I'm interested to know your thoughts here. I certainly have mine.
Yeah. I think that there's definitely going to be conversations about behind, but it's all third running back and back. If you look here, PFF, Derrick Henry was the #1 rated back in the entire league, Jimbo, the whole league. And the vast majority of that is what he does on the ground. He's not getting the highest of grades when it comes to receiving, but he's so dominant as a runner that, you just have to commit so much to try and even slow the guy down, much less stop him. And then you mentioned Justice Hill. Jimbo, he was so good. Look at it. He was the 14th best running back grade wise, according to PFF, all last season. And look where he's not bad anywhere.
Nope.
Even as a runner, he had a damn near 82 grade. He had an 89 grade as a receiving back, which is absolutely phenomenal. We know what he did as a pass blocker, especially when you consider the size that he's going out there with, taking on D tackles and D ends left and right and holding his own. And then in some positions, doing more than that. So to me, it's these two guys. And then Rasheen Ali didn't show me anything in year one that made me go, man, I can't wait to see more of this guy. But we have seen that from Keaton Mitchell before the injury. So that's the biggest intrigue there. What Keaton Mitchell are we getting in another year removed from the injury? Can he return to that explosive speed back that we had in years past? And then is that the guy who they kind of look at as the back of the future? Or is that back of the future not on this team yet? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think that if I'm kind of categorizing this group, I think this is a group that stands pat, and I think that this is not the year to go after the back of the future. Now, if the opportunity presents itself it does, right? But I think certainly going to 2025, we are more than happy to have Derrick Henry and hope for some, similarity in production. Same thing with Justice Hill. But the X factor to me is exactly like you said, Keaton Mitchell's knee, his health. Because if that guy can be some semblance of what he was before, look out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to see what he can do and how he can be applied to this room to mix it up, to be dynamic, to be explosive like he was, potentially to be even more in the pass game, and also the return game we kind of saw him in last year as well. So I think this room in particular, I'm happy about. I'm happy where we're at. I'm not going to be frustrated if we don't address it in the offseason. I want to see.
Address.
I'm okay. I'm okay right now because I think there are other priorities, and I think we get a lot of value out of this room right now.
So definitely free agency, nobody.
Yeah, like I said, if an opportunity presents itself, great.
But do you mean more in the draft when you say that? Like a later, like BPA,
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, I guess like
or
right.
Were you thinking more of a veteran guy who could come in and maybe fill, like what if, because here's my concern. What if Justice Hill goes down and he's missed 6 to 8 weeks? We're fine as far as the running game, but we're going to miss him as a pass blocker and a receiving back. And is Keaton Mitchell going to be ready? I think he might be okay and might be ready as a receiver, but I don't know if he's going to be able to imitate what we see as a pass blocker from Justice Hill.
I think that it's just one of those things you have to live with.
You can't be perfect everywhere.
Right. You can only stretch the dollar so far.
Okay.
And so that's kind of my thought, right? You know what's out there in the market. And like I said, if an opportunity presents itself, maybe to improve on Rasheen Ali, right? Mm-hmm. You bring somebody in camp and let them battle it out, then have at it, right? But if we don't do anything with this room, I'm fine with it. And that's pretty rare, I think, with most of our position groups. But I feel good about this room where it's at.
Yeah, and this is, of course, a group that the Ravens have had success finding, even when they don't invest a draft pick. We saw Gus Edwards come in as an undrafted rookie and play well right away, play well his whole career as a Raven. So even if they aren't able to address the position, even with a draft pick, if the need presents itself and the value's there, they could even add one after the draft. I agree. I think this position is good enough to win it as it is. And, man, I just hope if we get the same Derrick Henry that we got last season, I mean, this offense should look just as dominant as it did in 2024 or better. So let us know what you guys think, though. Do you think this? Would you like to see a shakeup in the running back room? Do you look at Cliff coming quicker for Derrick Henry, and you want to get ahead of it rather than be too late to it? Do you want us to draft a running back if the guy falls to the Ravens? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll talk soon.
See ya.
You got to trust me. Pull up in a big truck, big trust. Yeah, that's power. Never let it try me. I power out with the shootout and rob for a hobby and rock out.